Hello and welcome to another segment of DSU Inside Perspective. I'm Carlos Holmes, and this is the show where we talk with faculty, staff, students, alumni, and people from the outside about things going on in the world and some of the great things we have going on here at the Delaware State University. Today I have Dr. John Rich Jr.
Hi.
He is here to talk about a new book he's written. And actually this is a set of books that go together as a package on positive parenting. Dr. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks, I'm happy to be here.
Now, this book actually gives parents, and this is written for parents, right? It actually gives parents access to a lot of the information that's been, determined by researchers, right?
Yeah. So I'm a psychological researcher, and one of the things that occurred to me a couple years ago is that there's all this research out there about effective parenting and good parenting strategies, and the only people reading it are academics. And most of those academics already know all the information that's being written in those journals. So I thought to myself, parents need access to this. There's a lot of really good information. So I decided I wanted to take current research and then take the jargon out and use stories and examples and just regular everyday language to try to give them that access to what researchers know.
Well, now, you give 7 positive parenting tips.
Right.
Okay. And those are, and I'm just going to say them real quickly, but
Yes.
I want to get into some of your strong threads in your book, okay?
Okay.
But the 7 positive parenting tips: 1, provide consistent nonviolent discipline.
Right.
2, reward and praise 5 times more than you discipline.
Yes.
3, teach how you use words to communicate feelings and desires. 4, treat your children like a person.
Right.
Some of these seem like common sense.
Yeah.
5, create expectations that are developmentally appropriate. 6, model positive behaviors and qualities that you want your child to embody.
Right.
And 7, seek bonding experiences.
Right. Yes, because parenting is all about creating memories that the children can rely on later.
Now, I've been hearing lately this word, intentionality, or the use of the word intention, and a number have heard it in the religious vein. I've heard it in political vein. You start your book talking about intentionality.
Yes.
What are you talking about in connection with parenting?
Okay, so there's this phrase that psychologists use to talk about people's parenting practices, and it's intergenerational transmission of parenting. And what they mean by that is that the vast majority of people, when they have their own children, are just going to subconsciously or unconsciously parent their own kids the exact same way that they were parented when they were younger. And I'm trying to say that nobody's parents were perfect. So if you are intentionally thinking about the parenting that you want to use with your child, the kinds of values and characteristics you want them to exhibit when they get older, then you can say, all right, so my parents did these 4 things and I want to repeat those because those are fantastic. And yet, like, for example, my parents spanked me, and you talked before about that you grew up with spanking as well. And maybe if you're intentional, you think to yourself, at the very least, I only want to use spanking as a last resort. Maybe my parents used it a little too frequently or used it at times where it would have been better to go in another route. So that's what I'm talking about, is just trying to think, like, how am I going to handle situations? And I'm trying to provide strategies that you can use that keep things nonviolent and focus on the teaching aspect.
But is this all in terms of maybe deciding what you want that child to become?
Yeah. I mean, part of what the workbook is the book on the right there. Part of what the workbook does is tries to get you to say, all right, so here are some of my goals for my child. I want my child to be honest. I want my child to be considerate of other people. I want my child to take risks and be courageous. Maybe those are 3 goals that you have. And then, as a result of reading about the strategies, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to go about modeling these kinds of things in front of my kids so that they know what it looks like when a person is modeling those characteristics. Here are some of the strategies that I can use, and it just like puts it in the front of your brain instead of the back of your brain.
For researchers that research this type of thing, it may not be a big revelation to them, I don't know, but it was very thought-provoking for me to see your section on gender-free parenting.
Okay.
That was very interesting
Right.
to me. Talk about that.
Okay, so the focus that I have in the book about that is that when we raise our children inside of very strict gender stereotypes, everybody grows up an incomplete person. Boys tend to be brought up to be tough, and when they have a problem, they got to solve it. They got to be a man, suck it up. You're not allowed to exhibit too many powerful emotions unless they're angry emotions. Girls, on the other hand, are more likely to be allowed to express their feelings. Their parents are more likely to come in and try to solve the problem for them. And so on the one hand, the boys are learning courage, but they're not learning how to express their emotions. On this side, the girls are learning to express their emotions, but maybe they are more likely to develop problems like depression and anxiety because they haven't really been taught the sense of agency that we would want children to have about how to take an obstacle and turn it into an opportunity.
The parents that present themselves to their children, they present themselves. It's important, you know, how a parent acts in front of a child, correct?
Yes.
I mean, this is something you bring up in your book from time to time.
Right.
I didn't see it, but then again, I didn't read the full book. I read as much as I had time to, which was a good part of it.
Yeah.
But I know there's always a challenge between having one parent that has certain thoughts about the approach to parenting and their better half
Right.
that has a totally different approach to parenting. For
Yeah.
instance, one may believe in spanking and one may be diametrically opposed to it.
Right.
How is that resolved?
Yeah, well, I mean, the parents do need to figure out a way to be on the same page. I truly believe that the majority of parents want their kids to be raised well and they want to be thought of as good parents. And the people who use spanking, most of them think of the spanking as a tool to make them a better person. So nobody's evil in this debate. It's just a matter of both people being able to, this is what I say to married couples. I say the key to a successful marriage, if I had to put it in a nutshell, is we both need to assume, let's pretend we're married, we both need to assume that you're on my side and I'm on your side. As soon as I feel like you're trying to sabotage me, as soon as you feel like I'm getting in your way, an obstacle to your own happiness, there's no way that we can thrive. So I feel like if you go into a marital relationship or a parenting relationship with that mindset, that you can resolve those differences as they come up in particular situations.
Is this something that a courting couple moving toward marriage, they should work that out ahead of time, or is that too much to ask? There's some things that you're not going to really know what you need to do until you get in the middle of that situation.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, I think that the discipline conversation is an important one. Because if you're more likely to spank because you were spanked without really thinking through in what situations is that appropriate or not appropriate, if at all, then you're going to be just kind of going into it blind. So it's not possible to say, like, what should we do when Johnny does X, Y, and Z, because we don't know how he's going to grow up. But you can kind of set the boundaries about what kind of kid we want to raise and how we're going to talk to him and things like that. That's all part of the intentionality.
Okay. Well, we have been talking in terms of, well, maybe spanking is not a good thing to do. In 30 seconds or less,
right,
or maybe 40 seconds, explain why you personally, and I know from your book, you're not in favor of spanking.
That's correct.
Okay. Why does that not work? Why is that not an effective way of parenting?
Okay, so let's forget about the moral aspect and let's just talk about the research. The research shows that rewards are always far more powerful than punishments, no matter whether you're talking about a rat or a cat or a dog or a person. Rewards are more powerful because they bring with it information about what I can do to get something positive for myself. Whereas most punishments never have any information except, don't do that again. That's all that happens. So I feel like it's far better for your relationship with your child if you motivate them to want to please you than merely motivating them to try to keep from making you angry.
Sounds like the results would be more short-term than long-term.
Right, perfect.
I wish we had more time, but we don't.
Too. Okay.
But we're going to make more time. I want to make, because this stuff interests me. And this is a fantastic book, okay? I've read parts of it, and I think I'm going to recommend it to some young parents.
The parts he didn't read are really good.
Yes. I read a lot of this. I really did. And this is good information for parents. Dr. Rich, thank you so much for being on my show. And thank you for joining us for DSU Inside Perspective. We'll see you next time.